Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash Season 5. So The Flash is back in just under a week from now from its, 2 to 3 week break or whatever it was. Time has sort of gone by pretty quickly. Depends on who you are, I guess, as to whether time went by quick or not. Anyway, why are we talking about time? What we should be talking about, and what we will be talking about in this video, is the episode that will be airing in 2 weeks' time. The episode following the epic battle between King Shark and Gorilla Grodd, which is out of episode 16, which is otherwise entitled Failure is an Orphan, which is an interesting title which we will come back to at some point in this video. Now, in the last episode that we had of The Flash, which is episode 14, we saw Barry go into the Speed Force for essentially the entire episode, or it was 60 minutes in real time for Team Flash, which is, I think I said 29 days worth of time in the Speed Force. But the metahuman cure was taken into the Speed Force to mature, I guess is the best word to use. So it is now ready for use. The only issue is, well, they haven't actually used or actually tested it on a metahuman as of yet. To see if it, will cure them. Which I guess would officially make it a finished metahuman cure. Now, episode 15 with the whole King Shark and Gorilla Grodd aspect looks like it's going to be the solution to all of this. As it does seem this could be the episode in which we first see a metahuman cured by this serum, that metahuman being King Shark. The description for that episode does talk about King Shark possibly assisting Team Flash, and I think Team Flash will use the cure as a sort of factor or negotiation tool in getting him to help them stop Grodd. And going by the teaser for episode 16, it does seem that they are, successful in episode 15 with the cure. But yeah, speaking of episode 16, we'll be going over the synopsis for the episode as it does reveal some pretty interesting things. So we will break all of that down and also go over an issue in the Flash, online community, if you want to call it, as of the past week, which I know people are getting confused by, so we will cover that briefly at the end, as I don't want it to be the focus of another video on my channel. But yeah, as I said, the title for episode 16 is Failure is an Orphan, and here is the synopsis. With the metahuman cure ready to use, Barry and Team Flash must figure out a way to subdue Cicada long enough to take it. Killer Frost steps in to help with the plan. Meanwhile, Joe eases back into work, and Nora isn't happy about the way her dad plans to stop Cicada. So firstly, this episode is actually written by Zach Stentz, hopefully I'm pronouncing that last name correctly, who some might remember as the guy who wrote the Runaway Dinosaur episode in Season 2. So that's the one where Barry previously was obliterated into the Speed Force and has to basically go up against the Speed Force to get out. He has written another 1 or 2 episodes of The Flash, I think, but that episode is the one most would know off the top of their heads, which is easily in the top 10 episodes for most Flash viewers. It's a very good episode, if not a great episode. So yeah, he is back, so take that for a good sign if you want. But the episode title in itself, that's an interesting one. So the episode title is actually taken from the full quote of "Success has many fathers, failure is an orphan," which essentially breaks down to everyone is first in line or quick to appreciate their success or achievements in life, but few, if not none, accept or take responsibilities for their failures. So in the case of this episode and its title, they are suggesting that the episode will focus around not accepting or taking responsibility for a failure, which makes you think, is this going to be about Cicada's niece Grace? So it's failure by Cicada in what he was trying to achieve, which would mean more, or even more, seeing that Grace is actually an orphan, both of her parents are dead. This could also be possibly linked to Team Flash, as there is a suggestion, that failure in a couple of areas, could occur, but we will bring that up when relevant throughout the video. But the first part of the synopsis to go over is, with the metahuman cure ready to use, Barry and Team Flash must figure out a way to subdue Cicada long enough to take it. Now, as we have heard previously, Cicada needs to be held still and basically incapacitated for at least 1 minute for the cure to work, and as we have seen so far this season, that isn't the easiest thing to do. Now, in typical Flash fashion, I am expecting this to, be one of those things where they go over every possible option apart from the obvious one, and then they go with that obvious option, or that option is just randomly forced upon the character needed to fulfill that option, and then Team Flash will succeed, or at least get very close to succeeding. And that obvious option will be that of, you'd have to think, Killer Frost, who is the focus, of the next part of the synopsis, which says, Killer Frost steps in to help with the plan. So I don't think I really have to go into too much detail as to why Killer Frost is key. Simple answer, not affected by Cicada's dagger. Now we know of one scene that will go down in this episode that involves Barry as the Flash, who is with Killer Frost as they actually do take on Cicada. In this scene, Barry is dropped from really high up in the air before dropping onto a car and smashing it. You should see some photos of that on screen. Now these are from Canada Graph, so we'll leave the link to the post in the description down below if you want to go see more of these photos. There's quite a lot more that I'm showing in this video. In regards to Killer Frost, I don't think there are specific photos as to what she does in this scene. We just know that Barry falls from super high onto a car, Cicada flies away at some point as we've seen him do this season, but it does appear that this time he is the one that actually wins the battle, so it's almost like a, you know, when like you win in a fighting game and they do like a finishing move, that's Cicada's finishing move, like he just flies away. And there is also a moment in this scene between just Cicada and Killer Frost, so it will be interesting to see what specifically goes down here, but the next part of the synopsis goes as follows. Meanwhile, Joe eases back into work. So as most of us should already know by now, Joe West will be making his long-awaited return in episode 15 of this season after last being seen back all the way in episode 4. So a long time away from the show. Now in episode 15, as the promo images for that episode do suggest, he will just be with Iris for his scenes in that episode by the looks of it, at least for the most part. I think Cecile plays into a couple of these scenes as well, and has a role of them from what I've heard as well. But I think these will just be like context scenes, if I'm going to call them that, for Iris. So essentially she just gives information that is hard to present in other scenes in the form of like a catch-up conversation with her father. Which, you know, I think is needed as we have no idea what is really going on with Iris's newspaper because, as I said, it's hard to bring up in other scenes. We just got like little bits and pieces that are supposed to just be there and we're meant to follow them in some way, but they don't really piece together too well. Like, you know, the whole like, oh, I'm making money off my articles, but we never saw any of those articles. So maybe she might be able to give some context and just some understanding for the audience to Joe. But yeah, in this episode, Joe goes back to work, but if they are setting up Joe leaving, we might see him struggle when he goes back to work, so keep your eye out for that. And the last part of the synopsis is, Nora isn't happy about the way her dad plans to stop Cicada. Now, this is the part that makes me think that Team Flash will be on the cusp of defeating Cicada and ending what he has been doing this season in this episode, but then failing to do so, but actually due to one of their own. We know that Reverse Flash has a plan as to how Team Flash is to take down Cicada, which then leads to Barry being saved. But what if Cicada isn't supposed to be cured of his meta abilities? What if he needs to be stopped while still being a metahuman? This could be an issue that Nora will have to face head on, which, if not done that well, which I highly doubt it will be done well, could result in major suspicions from Team Flash, especially her father, who, as we saw a few episodes back, seems to be believing what Sherlock is presenting to everyone. Even if Sherlock isn't like flat out saying what she is working, or that she is working with someone, and who that someone is. But then again, maybe Nora could see what her father is doing as like a borderline suicide mission, just due to how much he has struggled against Cicada and his power set this season outside of like one or two moments, which obviously, you know, Barry didn't take advantage of in regards to having the upper hand for those one or two moments. But yeah, it will be interesting to see what goes on there with Nora, because we do know, and I'm sure everyone's seen it, like the Godspeed stuff, we know that Barry and Nora do have an altercation where Thorn is brought up. So Barry learns about Thorn, whether it is in episode 16, 17, or 18, it's going to be interesting. We know that 17 is a big Grace episode, so it makes you think, will Cicada lose in this episode? Maybe he loses in this episode, and then episode 17 they move over to Grace maybe. I don't know, it's going to be interesting. This could be the episode in which Cicada is properly defeated, but maybe it's in a manner where he isn't properly defeated, but Orlan is defeated, but maybe like the mantle of Cicada just properly goes over to Grace, and maybe we learn her origin story and stuff in episode 17. But the topic I did want to end the video on, and I mentioned it earlier, but I didn't want to make it the topic, like the main topic of the video, because I don't really want to center another video around this topic, is some clickbait going around from sites and just, you know, fake news. It's hashtag fake news. I'll put on my MAGA hat or whatever it's called. But yeah, fake news. Essentially, there's it's sourced from one newspaper article, or not newspaper article. I think I'm the Central City Citizen or something. This is sourced from a website, like a blog sort of thing, that is just spread to all these other websites and blogs and stuff, which has just basically caused this storm of just not real stuff. So This rumor is that Danielle Panabaker is leaving the show, which is bullcrap. So we did bring this up like 2 or 3 weeks ago when there was a rumor that another person from The Flash was leaving the show, which that rumor still stands. It hasn't been proven wrong. The Danielle Panabaker rumor was attached to that, but that was proven to be wrong straight after. However, that other character leaving the show still stands, but Danielle as a character that was attached to that was falsified. So that rumor is falsified, but it has been brought around again by websites looking for clicks, and they're literally just bringing this news back for clicks because the shows aren't on. You'll notice when the shows aren't on, that's usually when you get some of this stuff popping up. And unfortunately, they've got those clicks. But if you do believe that, don't believe it. I'm telling you right now, I know for a fact that the Danielle Panabaker news that these websites are spreading is 100% fake news. So ignore it. If you see any of it, maybe call it out, but just ignore it. Don't believe it. I'm telling you right now, it is fake. It was a rumor, as I said, 2 to 3 weeks ago, and it was proven false about a week after. I even said in my video back then, it doesn't make sense why Danielle would leave the show. She's like the person on the show who promotes the show the most. Why would she do that if she wants to leave the show? It literally makes no sense. So ignore those Danielle Panabaker leaving the show rumors, because it's just fake. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on what we went over in this video. Do you think Cicada's going to be taken down in this episode, or do you think something's going to happen where maybe he, goes a bit incognito for a couple of episodes? Or maybe do you think it goes over to Grace? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It seems like this is going to be like the beginning of like the push to the end, because we know we're getting that Godspeed episode in episode 18, big Grace episode in 17 by the looks of it. So yeah, it should be a pretty solid one, this one. And of course, if you are new to the channel, guys, be sure to subscribe, and I'll catch you later. Goodbye.